Now, next question says, which of the following alkaline earth metal is located in period 3 of the periodic table? Which alkaline earth metal is located in period 3? Now, in order for you to provide a solution to this question, you must be able to determine what the alkaline earth metals are. Now, in the periodic table, there are special names that are given to some elements or to some group of elements or families of elements. These special names are, the group 1 elements, they are called the what? The alkaline metals. Group 2 elements are called the alkaline earth metals. Group 3, they don't have a special name. Group 4, they are called the metalloids. Group 5, no special name. Group 6 are called the chalcogenes or the ore formers. Group 7s are called the halogens, and group 8 are called the noble gases. So, when you say alkaline earth metal, the first thing that should come to your mind are the group 2 element. Now, which group 2 element is in period 3? Which group 2 element is in period 3? Look at your periodic table there. Which of them is in group period 3? Now, you agree with me that the group 2 element starts with we have hydrogen, helium, lithium. Okay, lithium is considered as a noble gas. Helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, like that. Then you have magnesium, you have beryllium, then you have magnesium, you have calcium, now you have helium, hydrogen, then helium is at this extreme end of the periodic table. Now, hydrogen, helium, hydrogen is somewhat around group 1. Then you have sodium, sodium is somewhere around there. Then potassium. Are you getting it? Sodium, potassium, like this. Now, whenever you are giving, this is lithium here. So which of them? This is period 1 of the periodic table. Period 1 contains just 2 elements, which is hydrogen and helium. Period 2 contains lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, like that. Then period 3 contains sodium, magnesium, aluminium, like that. So which alkaline earth metal? This is group 1 element. These are the group 2 elements. Of course, you know that hydrogen is a betrayer here, because hydrogen is not considered as group 1, it's not considered as group 2, like that, because of some reasons which we are going to discuss in our later class. So we have the group 2 element. Which of them is in period 3? These are the group 2 elements. We have beryllium, magnesium, and calcium. Which of them is in period 3 is magnesium. Now, this question just requires your understanding of the periodic table. Like me, if I see a question like this, I won't bother. I will just take the answer. Why? Because I understand how the periodic table is arranged. So the correct answer is what? Beryllium. Beryllium is the alkaline earth metal, which is the group 2 element that is in period 3. Now, the next question says, which of the following is classified as a metal? Which of the following is classified as a metal? You have germanium. You have arsenic. You have fluorine. And you have vanadium. Which of them is classified as a non-metal? Which of them is classified as a metal, rather? Now, germanium is considered as what? As a metalloid. Arsenic, non-metal. Fluorine, non-metal. Vanadium is a transition metal. So you don't even need to solve. Just know that vanadium is a transition metal and hence is a metal. Are we getting this? It's considered as a metal. That is the correct answer to that question. Which of the following statement is wrong? Now we are going to analyze these statements one after the other. Which of the following statements is wrong? Which of the following statement is wrong? A. The atomic weight of carbon is about 12. That is true. The atomic weight of carbon is about 12. That's why we say carbon 12. Cut. Okay, we have the next question, question 9, that says, which of the following statement is wrong? The question says, which of the following statement is wrong? Now, option A says the atomic weight of carbon is 12. It's about 12. Yeah, this is correct. The atomic weight of carbon is about 12, which is carbon 12. Are we getting it now? Now, the most stable ion of lithium is lithium plus. The most stable ion of lithium is lithium plus. Now, note, the most stable ion of any atom is the number of electrons that that atom must give out or receive in order to obtain octets. Are we getting it now? The number of atoms that, or the number of electrons that that atom must give out or what accept to gain octets. Now, lithium is group 1, has atomic number of 2 and 1. It can easily give out this 1 electron to become stable. Are we getting it now? So it will, now when atom gives out electrons, they become negatively charged. Why? If they receive if they give out electron, when atom gives out electron, they become positively charged. Why? If they receive electrons, they become negatively charged. Is that clear? So when lithium gives out this 1 electron, it becomes what? Plus 1. So the most stable ion of lithium is lithium 1 plus. That is correct. Now, if I ask you, what is the most stable ion of oxygen? Oxygen has electronic configuration of 2 and 6, isn't it? Now, to complete octet, oxygen needs how many electrons? 2 more electrons, which is what? 2, 6 plus minus 2, because if it gains 2 electrons, it becomes what? 8. And we say when it gains electrons, it becomes negatively what? Charged. So the most stable ion for oxygen is oxygen 2 minus. Are we getting it now? So that one is also correct. The most stable ion of carbon is the most stable ion of lithium is lithium plus. Next question. The next one says a phosphorus atom is larger than antimony atom. That is, let's see if that is correct. Now, if you look at your periodic table, phosphorus and antimony, they are in the same period or the same group in the periodic table. Are we getting it now? Phosphorus and antimony are in the same group in the periodic table. But phosphorus is up the group while antimony is down the group. Now, according to the law or the trend, we say that atomic radius does what? Increases from top to bottom. It means that antimony has higher atomic radius than phosphorus because it increases. So if this one is 2 because it's increasing down, the one in the middle may be 3, the one here will be 4, and antimony will be what? 5. So antimony has a higher atomic number than phosphorus. So that particular one is wrong, and we are looking for the one that is wrong. Now, for the sake of just reading, let's talk about the last one. The radius of sodium is larger than the radius of sodium cation. That is wrong. Please take note of this. The radius of cations are larger than those of the corresponding atom. What that statement means is the radius of, let's say, sodium is larger than the radius of the ion that sodium will form. The radius of lithium is larger than the radius of the cation that lithium will form. Same vein, the radius of calcium is greater than the radius of the cation that calcium will form. The radius of cations are lesser than the radius of the corresponding ion or corresponding atom, or we can say that the radius of atoms are larger than those of their corresponding ions, cations rather. While the radius of negatively charged ions, which are anions, are larger than those of their corresponding ion, corresponding atom. The radius of negatively charged ions are larger than those of the corresponding atom. So radius of oxygen is greater than that of the atom. Radius of sulfur is greater than that of the atom. So that is correct. The radius of sodium is larger than the radius of sodium cation. So the wrong option here is option C, which is the radius of a phosphorus atom is larger than antimony atom. The last question for this session: which of the following molecules are polar molecules? I will take time to explain this question. Which of the following molecules are polar molecules. Now, the molecules given are PH3, OF2, HF, SO3. Now, what are polar molecules? Polar molecules are those molecules that possess a dipole moment. Are we getting it down? They possess a dipole moment. That means they possess a site of positive charge and a site of negative charge. And they are usually formed whenever two atoms of large electronegativity difference are paired together. Now, but there are some criteria that must be observed in order to determine if a molecule is polar or not. Such criteria are: 1, the molecules must possess a dipole moment. When we say molecule must possess a dipole moment, that means it must have a partially positive charge and a partially negative charge. And the partially positive charge and negative charge can only be gotten from the electronegativity difference between the atoms. So let's compare them. We have phosphorus and hydrogen. Phosphorus is more electronegative than hydrogen. So phosphorus will be negatively charged, hydrogen will be positively what? Charged. Same way, we have how many hydrogen atoms there? We have 3 hydrogen atoms there, which is partially positive, partially another hydrogen here, partially positive. Now, note, secondly, that a polar molecule must not have a lone pair of electrons. A polar molecule must have a lone pair of electrons, or if any atom has a lone pair of atoms, such a molecule is likely to be polar. Let's take it like that. If an atom has a lone pair of electrons, such an atom is said to be or likely to be polar. For instance, if we should write the Lewis-Dot structure for this particular compound, you agree with me that phosphorus is group 5, and since phosphorus is group 5, it has how many valence electrons? That's 5 valence electrons. Now, each of the oxygen needs how many valence electrons? 1 each. So we have 1 electron here, 1 electron here, 1 electron, which we bond with the one of the oxygen to give you this bond. This will bond with this to give you this bond, and this will bond with this to give you this bond. So how many electrons has phosphorus given out? It has given out 1, 2, 3. Now, we said it has how many valence electrons? Phosphorus is group 5, and hence it has 5 valence electrons. And because phosphorus has 5 valence electrons, it has given 3 to bond with hydrogen. Phosphorus will have 2 lone pairs of electrons, and since it has 2 lone pairs of electrons, phosphorus is, this particular compound is automatically polar. Now let's look at OF2. Oxygen has how many valence electrons? It has 6 valence electrons. Now between these two, oxygen and fluorine, which of them will be the central atom? The least electronegative atom is said to be in the center, or the central atom. In most cases, just look at them, the one that carries a subscript is likely to be the central atom. For instance, you see H is likely not to be the central atom, rather. For instance, you see phosphorus does not carry a subscript and hence is the central atom. Oxygen does not carry a subscript and hence is the central atom. Now fluorine is the more electronegative atom here, and the law says that the least electronegative atom must be the one that will be in the central. Oxygen has its valence electron. Each of the fluorine needs how many electrons to complete the atomos share? Fluorine is in group 7, and since fluorine is in group 7, it needs 1 valence electrons to complete its atomos share. So if oxygen give 1 valence electron to fluorine, each oxygen give 1 valence electron to fluorine, each oxygen give 1 valence electron to fluorine, what are we going to have? We are going to be left, okay, there are just 2 fluorines here. Since there are just 2 fluorines, we will be left with how many fluorines, how many electrons remaining? 4 electrons. The 4 electrons, they will pair to give you 2 lone pair of electrons. Since this one is having a lone pair of electrons, it's automatically polar. Now look at HF. HF contains oxygen, hydrogen, and fluorine. This is what? Negatively charged, and this is positively charged. it possesses a dipole moment. And since it possesses a dipole moment, the dipole moment do not cancel each other. There's no symmetry between these two compounds. Are we getting it now? Such compounds are said to be polar. So let me give you the rule to know. Whenever a molecule is diatomic, when you say diatomic molecule, that means it has just two atoms in such a way that one of the atoms is more electronegative than the other. Such molecule is said to be what? Polar. For instance, this is diatomic. Fluorine is more electronegative than hydrogen, so it is what? Polar. Now, oxygen is diatomic. Oxygen gas is diatomic. Are we getting it now? These two atoms, they have the same what? Polarity. And since they have the same polarity, what happens? Or the same electronegativity, this molecule is what? Not polar. Are we getting it now? Now, the only option you are left with here is SO3. SO3 is non-polar. Now, why is SO3 not polar? Let's write the Lewis dot structure for SO3. Now, SO3, which of them will be the central atom now? Listen, this is where I want to give real explanation. For you to know a molecule that is non-polar, one, it must, or for you to know a molecule that is polar, it may have lone pairs of electrons. Whenever it has lone pairs of electrons, it is what? Polar. Two, it must have a dipole moment. Whenever any atom has dipole moment, it is polar. Three, when I say it has dipole moment, that means it has both positive end and what? Negative end. Three, it must not have symmetry. That is to say that the positive end and the negative end must not have what? Symmetry. Are we getting it now? They must not have symmetry. That means you cannot divide them along each side. But if you look at SO3, sulfur is the central atom. Sulfur has how many valence electrons? 6. Oxygen has how many valence electrons? Also 6. Oxygen needs how many electrons to complete atomic share? It needs 2. So sulfur will be donating 2 electrons each to oxygen. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to each of the oxygen. I will not write the complete Lewis dot structure, but these are it looks like. Now this is the Lewis dot structure for this. Now if you want to write, you can write it as something like this. This can undergo resonance to give you this O minus and O minus. If you don't understand this, please refer back to our notes on resonance or our discussion on resonance. Now you see that this molecule is what? Is symmetrical. Reason being that this is the negative end, or this is negative end and this is the positive end. Are we getting it now? This is more electronegative. Now, one thing that you should know is this side is the same as this side and is the same as this side. Are we getting it now? So it is said to be symmetrical. So this molecule is what? Is non-polar. Is non-what? Polar. Now we are going to explain this later in details. But just know that the correct answer to this question, whenever you see it, is all except SO3, which is option A. So guys, this is where we are going to stop for today. Are we getting it now? Here we are going to stop for today. In our next class, we are going to discuss more and we'll complete the entire series. Thank you.